The Third Testament, Section 15, Admonitions, Warnings, Teachings. Chapter 63, Teachings for the Churches and all Disciples of Christ. The Spiritual Work of Christ. 1. Rejoice in my presence, beloved people, make a feast in your heart, rejoice for joy, for at last you have experienced the day of the Lord. 2. You were afraid of the coming of this day, for you still thought as the ancients did, thinking that your father's heart was vengeful, that he was resentful because of the insults received, and that for this reason he kept ready the sickle, the scourge and the cup of suffering, to take revenge on those who had insulted him so much and so many times. 3. But great was your surprise when you found that in the Spirit of God there can be neither wrath, fury, nor disgust. Even if the world is sobbing and lamenting as never before, the reason is not that the Father has given it this fruit to eat and this cup to drink, but that this is the harvest that mankind is now reaping by reason of its works. For though all the evil events that were unleashed in this time were announced to you beforehand, but because they were announced to you, do not think that your Lord is sending them to you as punishment. Quite the contrary, at all times I have warned you of evil, of temptations, and have helped to raise you up again from your falls. Moreover, I have provided you with all the means necessary for you to save yourselves. But you must also recognize that you have always been deaf and unbelieving in the face of my calls. 160, 40-41. 5. Woe to those who do not make an effort to light their lamp in this time, for they will go astray. See how everywhere still the shadows reign, although this is the time of light. 6. You know by my word that I chose this nation, Mexico, to reveal myself in it at my third coming, but you do not know the reason why. The Master, who does not want to have secrets from his disciples, has been a secret to you. He comes to reveal to you all that you should know so that you can answer those who question you correctly. 7. I have seen that the inhabitants of this corner of the earth have always sought me and loved me, and although their devotion has not always been perfect, I have accepted their intention and their love as a flower of innocence, sacrifice and pain on the altar of my divinity. This fragrant flower has always been present. 8. You have been prepared to fulfill this great mission in the third age. 9. Today you know that I had the people of Israel reincarnated among you because I revealed them to you. You know that the seed that lives in your being and the inner light that guides you is the same that I poured out on the house of Jacob already in the first time. 10. You are Israelites according to the Spirit, you have the spiritual seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You are branches of that blessed tree, which will give shade and fruit to mankind. 11. This is the reason why I call you firstborn, and why I have sought you out in this time to make known to the world through you my third revelation. 12. It is my will that the people of Israel should rise spiritually among mankind so that they may see the true resurrection in the flesh. 183, 33-35. 13. Did you think that I would give my word to all the nations of the earth? No. Also in this my new revelation is similar to that of the past times, when I revealed myself to a single people, and this people then had the task of setting out and spreading the good news and sowing the seed which they received in my message. 185, 20. 14. Leave it to other nations to awake for the new time, when they see that lands are devastated by floods of water, that nations are destroyed by war, and pestilences destroy life. These peoples, haughty in their sciences and put to sleep by the splendor of their churches, will not recognize my word in this unimpressive form, nor will they feel my revelation in the Spirit. Therefore, the earth must first be shaken, and nature will tell men, the time is fulfilled, and the Lord has come to you. 15. For mankind to awaken, to open their eyes and affirm that it is I who have come, the power and arrogance of man must first be afflicted. But your task is to watch, to pray and to prepare yourselves. 62:53. 16. I once promised you to come back to mankind, and here I am to fulfill that promise. Even though many centuries have passed, your spirit longed for my presence in his desire for peace, in his hunger for truth, in his longing for knowledge, and my spirit has come down to let you hear a teaching according to the time you live in. How can people want to continue to live a life as they have done until now? It is no longer the time to remain in spiritual stagnation, or in spiritual inertia in the practice of rites and traditions. 77:19. 17. Many men of recognized erudition in the world will not be able to recognize me in this form and deny me. But do not be surprised by this, since I announced it to you long ago when I told you, "Blessed be, Father, that you have revealed your truth to the infants and have hidden it from the learned and prudent." 18. But this is not because I hide my truth from anyone, but rather because those whose minds are unencumbered, in their spiritual poverty or insignificance, can better feel me, while the gifted, whose minds are full of theories, philosophies and doctrines of faith, can neither understand me nor feel me. But the truth, which is for all, will come to everyone at the appointed time. 50:45. 19. He that knoweth my law, and hideth it, cannot call himself my disciple. He who passes on my truth only with his lips and not with the heart does not take me as an example. He who speaks of love and proves the contrary with his works is a traitor to my teachings. 20. He who denies the purity and perfection of Mary is foolish, for in his ignorance he challenges God and denies his power. He who does not recognize my truth in the third age and denies the immortality of the Spirit is still sleeping and does not heed the prophecies of the past times, which announced the revelation that mankind is experiencing in this time. 73:28, 29. 21. They will come and put me to the test because they want to prove to you that you are in error. If I do not give them my name, they will say that I am not I, and if I answer their ill-intentioned questions, they will deny me with even greater zeal. 22. Then I will say to them, whoever wants to enter the kingdom of light must seek it with the heart. But he who wants to live without acknowledging me will have withheld divine knowledge from his own spirit and so bring about that everything that is clear and light-filled revelation is mystery and mystery for him. 90:49-50. 23. Now I am with you only temporarily, as I once was. Already the time is approaching when I no longer speak to you, but mankind has not felt my presence. 24. From the mountain from which I send you my word and contemplate you, I will have to cry out on the eve of my farewell, mankind, mankind, you who did not know who was with you. Just as in the second time, shortly before my death, I looked at the city from a mountain and cried out with tears, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who did not know the good that has been with you. 25. It was not the world for whose sake he wept, it was for the spirit of men who were still without light and who still had to shed many tears to reach the truth. 274, 68-69. 26 Many centuries have passed since the day I gave you my word and my last admonitions through Jesus, but today I appear with you as the Holy Spirit to fulfill my promise to you. 27 I have not become man, I come in spirit, and only those who are prepared will see me. 28 While you believe in my word and follow me, others do not accept my rallies and deny them. I had to give them great proofs, and thanks to these I gradually defeated their unbelief. 29 The love and patience which I have always shown you make you understand that only your Father can love and teach you. In this way I watch over you and make your cross light so that you do not stumble. I let you feel my peace so that you go your way full of trust in me. 32, 4. 30 My word, my teaching, is today apparently destined for you alone, but in truth it is destined for all, for its wisdom and love embraces the whole universe, uniting all worlds, all spirit beings incarnate and disincarnate. Come to me when you need me, seek me when you feel lost. 31 I am your Father who knows your sufferings and who comforts you. I instill in you the love that you need so much, for yourselves and to spread it in your surroundings. 32 When you truly recognize my presence in the wisdom which I am revealing through these voice bearers, recognize also that the time has come to begin the work of building up on the spiritual path. 33 If only all who have been called would come forward, verily I say to you, the Lord's table would be overflowing with disciples and they would all eat the same food. But not all the invited have come, they have given various occupations, thus putting the divine call in second place. 34 Blessed are those who have come in haste, for they have received their reward. 12, 76-80. 35 Not all of you here are listening to me, who have received spiritual gifts in this time. See how many empty seats there are at the table, because many of my little children, after receiving a benefit, moved away and avoided the responsibilities and assignments. If they still knew here on earth the vows that every spirit gave me before coming to earth. 86. 43. 36 I am currently bequeathing to you the Third Testament, but you have not even understood the first two. If you had been prepared at this time, it would not have been necessary for my word to be heard materially, for I would then speak spiritually, and you would answer me with your love. 86, 49. 37 This is the light of the third age. But put to the test him who says that it is not God who speaks to you, but this man here. Verily, I tell you, as long as my divine ray does not enlighten his mind, you will not be able to draw out from him words of spiritual value and truth, even if you threatened him with death. 38 It is not strange that, just as the Spirit uses his body to speak and make himself known, he detaches himself from it for a short time to allow the Father of all spirits to make himself known in his place God. 39 I come to you because you do not know how to come to me, and I teach that the most pleasing prayer that has reached the Father is the one that rises in silence from your spirit. It is this prayer that attracts my ray through which you hear me. It is not the songs and words that delight my divinity. 59, 57-59. 40 You cannot say that my word is not clear, or that it contains imperfections, because no ambiguity can come from me. If you find any error in it, attribute it to the bad transmission of the voice bearer, or to your bad comprehension, but never to my teaching. Woe to the voice-bearer who corrupts my word. Woe to him who transmits my teaching badly and devalues it, for he will experience the incessant reproach of his conscience and lose the peace of his spirit. 108:51. 41. To meet you, I say to you, if you do not want me to use sinful bodies to give you my love, show me a righteous one, a pure one, show me one among you who knows how to love, and I assure you that I will use him. 42. Understand that I make use of sinners to bring the sinners, for I do not come to save the righteous, they are already in the kingdom of light. 16:25. 43. Observe how this seed, though you have tended it poorly, does not die. See how it has overcome darkness and pitfalls, obstacles and trials, and continues to germinate and develop day by day. Why does this seed not die? Because the truth is immortal, eternal. 44. Therefore, you will experience that if this teaching seems to disappear at times, it will be just when new and abundant instincts sprout to help people take another step forward on the path to spiritualization. 99:20. 45. Examine my teachings and tell me if this teaching could be included in one of your religions. 46. I have revealed to you its comprehensive characteristics and its universal meaning, which is not limited to parts of humanity or to certain peoples, but transcends the planetary orbit of your world to include infinity with all its life worlds, where, as on this world, children of God dwell. 83:6. 47. Know that my word is not, nor can be, a new religion. This work is the light-filled way in which all ideologies, creeds and religions will unite spiritually to reach the gates of the promised land. 310:39. 48. My teaching, on which your spirit is nourished, will transform you into masters, into the faithful apostles of the Holy Spirit. 311:12. 49. I will present you to man as my servants, as the Trinitarian Marian Third Age spiritualists, because you are to be more spirit than matter, Trinitarian, because you have received my revelation in 3 times, Marian, because you love Mary, your universal mother, who has watched over you, so that you may not despair on the path of life. 70:36. 50. Not only those who heard my word through the human organ of understanding will be called children of this people. Everyone who takes up his cross, everyone who loves this law and spreads this seed shall be called laborers in my vineyard, apostles of my work and children of this people, even if he has not heard me by means of this rallies. 94:12. 51. How can you think, people, that because you come together in different places of assembly, this is a reason to keep your distance from one another? Only ignorance will prevent you from becoming aware of the spiritual bonds that unite all the children of the Lord. 191:51. 52. When you visit one or another or different places of assembly and hear the same word through their voices, your hearts are filled with joy and faith, and you take that teaching as a real proof that these communities are united by their spiritualization. However, when you attend a poor rallies, you feel that you have been wounded in your hearts, and you understand that there is not the unity or manifestation that should be present in this people. 140:71. 53. I want you to be my good and humble disciples, those who do not claim any appointments or honors within the community, but that your ideal consists only in achieving perfection through virtue and following my instructions, so that your life may become an example. What use could there be for you places of honor, titles or names, if you have no merits to rightfully possess them? 165, 17. 54. My work is not one of so many teachings, is not another sect in the world. This revelation I have brought you today is the eternal law. Yet, how many rituals you have added to it for lack of spirituality and understanding, how many unfairness, until you finally distorted it. How many rituals have you introduced into my teaching, saying and believing that everything you have done was inspired and ordered by me? 197, 48. 55. You will soon find yourselves in the midst of people who are tired of external cults and weary of their religious fanaticism. This is why I tell you that the message of spiritualization you will bring them will reach their hearts like fresh and refreshing dew. 56. Do you think that if you come to them with fanatical cults and practices that are contrary to spiritualization, the world might recognize you as the bearer of a divine message? Verily, I tell you, they would take you for fanatics of a new sect. 57. In view of the clarity with which I speak to you, there are those who say to me, Master, how is it possible that we should reject many of the ritual acts that Rochrohus left us as a legacy? 58. I tell you that I gave you that example from the second age when I made the people understand that they had forgotten the law, which is the essential thing, for the sake of observing rites, formalities, traditions and holidays. 59. I reminded you of this act of your master so that you might understand that even today you should forget traditions and ceremonies, even if you learned them from Rochrohus, as the people of Moses had inherited them at that time. 60. Now, I do not mean to tell you that they taught you anything bad, no. They were only compelled to resort to symbols and ways of acting that would help the people to understand the divine revelations. But as soon as this goal had been reached, it was necessary to eliminate every now useless form of worship or allegory in order to let the light of truth shine. 253, 29-32. 61. How much pain have my heart caused by the servants who have not understood my law, and how much pain are presently caused by those who, although I have trained and appointed them, have today given shelter to doubt, to insecurity, saying, as a result of their incomprehension and selfishness, that I will remain among the people for a further period of time, that I will send down my universal ray once more according to their human will and continue to rally for a long time. 62. Therefore I have told you, when did I show indecision, uncertainty, or discord of will in my words? Never, indeed, for I would then no longer be perfect, would no longer be your God and your Creator. 63. In me is determination, a single will, and therefore I speak as clearly as the bright daylight, so that all may feel me in my presence, my essence and my power, so that the Spirit may recognize the underlying reason and the word that I have given through the human mind. 64. The Master tells you, man has erected buildings and called them churches, and in these places the people who enter make displays of reverence, nourishing fanaticism and idolatry and worshipping what man himself has created. This is detestable in my eyes, and therefore I have removed from you, people of Israel, everything you knew and heard at the beginning, so that you give up your fanaticism. 65. The prayer houses of the people of Israel are to be made known to mankind, they are not to be closed, for they are to give shelter to the weak and the erring, the weary and the sick. By your armament, by obedience to my supreme will and observance of my law, I will bear witness to my divinity in the works of the true disciples. 66 Let it not grieve you that even false voice-bearers, false church leaders, false workers will appear, that their blasphemous lips will speak to the people and assert that my word and my universal ray will continue to remain among the people as teaching. 67 I will make known who is a deceiver, who does not obey the law according to my will, who is he who only expresses his own will, and I will make known the work he has done and the law he has created, and they will be rejected and banished. 68 For I will withhold divine grace and power, and temptation will catch them in their nets, and therefore everyone who seeks them will not feel in his spirit the grace of my Holy Spirit. 363, 52-56. 69 Without sounding the trumpet that you are my apostles, you shall be. Even if you are masters, you shall say that you are disciples. 70 You shall not wear a garment that distinguishes you from others, you shall not carry a book in your hands, you shall not build assembly houses. 71 Neither shall ye have on earth any center or foundation of my work, neither shall any man stand above the man who takes my place. 72 The leaders you have had so far are the last. Prayer, spiritualization, and the practice of my teaching shall lead the multitudes into the way of light. 24630, 31. 73 Is it just, I ask my disciples, that you present a perfect work like the one I have revealed to you to mankind, to be judged as an aberration, or to be considered as another of the teachings and theories that have arisen in these times as fruits of the prevailing spiritual confusion? 74 Would it be right for you, whom I have so loved and trained with my word so that your testimony might be pure, to fall into the hands of earthly justice as victims of your errors, or to be persecuted and scattered because your neighbors consider you harmful? 75 Do you think that a teaching, correctly followed, could cause such events? No, disciples. 76 Let me speak to you in this way, for I know why I am doing it. Tomorrow, when I no longer speak to you in this form, you will know why I spoke to you in this way, and you will say, the Master knew exactly how many infirmities we would be sick of. Nothing escapes his wisdom. 252,26, 27. 77 I am preparing you for the time when you will no longer hear my word, because then men will call you the people without God, the people without house of God, because you will not have splendid church buildings to worship me, nor celebrate solemn rites, nor seek me in images. 78 But I will leave you a book as a testament, which will be your defense in the trials and the way to which you shall direct your steps. These words, which you hear today through the voice-bearer, will flow out of the scriptures tomorrow, so that you may be refreshed by them again, and they will be heard by the crowds of people who will come at this time. 129, 24. 79 I am currently bequeathing to mankind a new book, a New Testament, my word of the third time, the divine voice that spoke to man at the breaking of the sixth seal. 80 There is no need for your names or your deeds to go down in history. In this book, my word will be like a sounding and clear voice speaking eternally to the human heart, and my people will leave to posterity the trace of their steps on this path of spiritualization. 102, 28-29. 81 The places of assembly in which my word has been made known have multiplied, each of them being like a school of true knowledge, where the people gather who form my disciples and come eagerly to learn the new lesson. 82 If each of these churches were to bear witness to all the benefits they have received from my mercy, the witnessing of those miracles would have no end. And if you had to gather in one book all that I have spoken through all my voices from the first of my words to the last, this would be a work you could not accomplish. 83 But I will give to mankind, through the mediation of my people, a book in which is contained the essence of my word and the testimony of the works I have done among you. Do not be afraid to take up this commission, for I will inspire you so that in this book those teachings will be recorded which are indispensable. 152, 39-41. 84 The essence of this word has never changed since the beginning of his rallies when I spoke to you through Damiana Ovido. The meaning of my teaching has been the same. 85 But where is the essence of those words? What happened to them? Hidden are the writings of those divine messages, which were the first in this time when my word was so abundantly spread among you. 86 It is necessary that these teachings come to light, so that tomorrow you may be able to bear witness as to what the beginning of this rallies was. Thus you will know the date of my first teaching, its contents, and that of the last, which is the year 1950, the appointed year in which this time of revelation is to end. 127, 14-15. 87 It is necessary that you speak to those who hide my word and who distort my teachings. Speak to them in all clarity. I will stand by you so that you take your stand with them. For it is men who are the reason that my work will be criticized tomorrow and my law will be falsified because they have added something to my work that does not belong to it. 340, 39. 88 I brought you this word and made you hear it in your own language, but I am giving you the commission to translate it later into other languages so that it may be known to all. 89 In this way you will begin to build the true Tower of Israel, that which unites all peoples spiritually into one, that unites all men in that divine, immutable and eternal law which you have experienced in the world from the mouth of Jesus when he told you, love one another. 34, 59-60. The spiritual Israel and the Jewish people. 90 Israel I called the people whom I am currently gathering around my new revelation, for no one knows better than I which spirit dwells in each of the called of this third age. 91 Israel has a spiritual meaning, and I give you this name so that you are aware that you are a part of the people of God. For Israel does not represent a people of the earth, but a world of spirits. 92 This name will be known again on earth, but free from error, in its true meaning, which is spiritual. 93 You must know the origin and the meaning of this name. Your faith that you are children of that people must be absolute, and you must have complete knowledge of who gave you this name and why, so that you may withstand the attacks that will be made on you tomorrow by those who give another meaning to the name Israel. 274, 47-50. 94 I want obedience from you. I want you to form a people strong by its faith and spiritualization, for just as I had the generations descended from Jacob multiplied, in spite of the great hardships that afflicted that people, so I will also cause you, who in spirit carry that seed within you, to persevere in your struggles, so that your people may once again multiply like the stars in the sky and like the sand on the sea. 95 I have made you know that you are spiritually a part of that people of Israel, so that you may have a fuller knowledge of your destiny. But I have at the same time recommended to you that you should not publicly proclaim the prophecies concerning this until mankind discovers them of their own accord. 96 For since the Israelite people still exist on earth, the Jew after the flesh, he will deny you this name and will not grant it to you, though this is not a valid reason for quarrel. 97 They know nothing yet of you, but ye know much of them. I have revealed to you that this people, wandering about on earth and without peace in the spirit, is moving step by step and without knowing it, toward the crucified one whom they will recognize as their Lord and whom they will ask forgiveness for his so great ingratitude and hard-heartedness in the face of his love. 98 My body has been taken down from the cross, but for those who have denied me for centuries, I remain nailed to it and I continue to wait for the moment of their awakening and repentance to give them all that I gave them and they did not want to receive. 86, 11-13. 99 In this time do not be like the Jewish people of the second age who, because they were bound by tradition, conservative and fanatical, could not eat the bread of heaven that the Messiah brought to them, which they had expected for many centuries. When the hour had come, they could not recognize him, because his materialization prevented them from seeing the light of truth. 255, 19. 100 From distant lands and nations you will see your brethren arriving in desire for liberation of their spirit. From that ancient Palestine they will also come in multitudes, as when the tribes of Israel crossed the desert. 101 His pilgrimage has been long and sorrowful since it expelled from his womb him who offered him his kingdom as a new inheritance. But it is already approaching the oasis, where it will rest and ponder my word, and then, strengthened in the knowledge of my law, will continue on the path that shows it its long-forgotten development. 102 Then you will hear many say that your nation is the new land of promise, the new Jerusalem. But you will tell them that that promised land is beyond this world, and that to reach it you must do so in spirit after crossing the great desert of the trials of this age. You will also tell them that this nation is but an oasis in the middle of the desert. 103 But you will understand, people, that the oasis must give shade to the exhausted wayfarers, and also must offer its crystal clear and fresh water to the lips parched with thirst of those who seek refuge in it. 104 What is that shadow and that water of which I speak to you? My teaching, people, my divine teaching in the activity of love, and in whom have I placed this wealth of grace and blessings? In you, people, so that you may free your heart more and more from every selfishness and show it as a pure mirror in every one of your works. 105 Would not your spirit and heart be filled with delight if, through your love, it were possible to convert to the Trinitarian Marian spiritual teaching that people who are so attached to their traditions and have become spiritually stuck? Would not there be joy among you if the old Israel were to be converted through the mediation of the new Israel, that is, if the former were to obtain grace through the latter? 106 Up to now nothing has convinced the Jewish people that they must break with the old traditions in order to achieve their moral and spiritual upward development. It is the people who believe they are fulfilling the laws of Jehovah and Moses, but who in reality still worship their golden calf. 107 The time is near when this erring people, scattered throughout the world, will cease to look to the earth, and will lift up their eyes to heaven, in search of the one who was promised to be their Savior from the beginning, and whom they misjudged and killed because they thought him poor and found nothing good in him. 35, 55-58. 108 Do not take the fact that I have chosen one people of the earth among the others as a preference, I love all my children and the peoples who formed them equally. 109 Each people brings a mission to the earth, and the destiny that Israel has brought with it is that of being the prophet of God among men, the beacon of faith and the way to perfection. 110 My prophecies and revelations, which I have given you since the first times, have not been interpreted correctly, because the hour had not yet come in which mankind would have understood them. 111 In former times Israel was a people of the earth, today they are scattered over the world. Tomorrow the people of God will consist of all spirit beings, who together with their Father will form the divine family in perfect harmony. 221,27, 30. Discipleship and spirituality. 112 Learn to love one another, to bless, to forgive, to be gentle and loving, good and noble, and understand that if you do not do this, the works of Christ your Master will not be reflected in your life in the least. 113 I am speaking to all and I call upon you all to remove the errors that have held you back in your development for so many centuries. 21, 22-23. 114 Do not forget that your origin is in my love. Today your heart is hardened by selfishness, but once again, when it becomes receptive to any spiritual inspiration, it will feel love for its neighbor and feel the pain of others as if it were its own. Then you will be able to fulfill the commandment that tells you, love one another. 80:15. 115 This world is the appropriate field to work in. In it is pain, sickness, sin in all its forms, vice, discord, lost youth, age without dignity, science abused for evil, hatred, war and lies. 116 These are the fields in which you are to work and sow. But if that struggle that awaits you among men seems gigantic to you, verily, I tell you, although it is great, it cannot be compared with the one you have to begin with yourselves, the struggle of spirit, of reason and conscience against the passions of the flesh, their self-love, their selfishness, their materialization. But as long as you have not triumphed over yourselves, how can you sincerely speak of love, of obedience, of humility and spiritualization to your fellow men? 73:18-19. 117 Virtue has been despised and taken for something harmful or useless. Now the time has come when you are to understand that only virtue will bring you salvation, make you feel peace, and fill you with satisfaction. But still virtue must suffer many hindrances and tribulations before it can enter into all hearts. 118 The soldiers who defend it must fight with great effort and great faith. Where are these soldiers of goodness, of active charity and peace? Do you believe they are? 119 You examine yourselves inwardly and answer me that you are not. For this I say to you that you can all belong to those soldiers with good will. For what do you think I came to you? 64:16. 120 Love, speak when you have to do it, be silent when it is appropriate, tell no one that you are my chosen ones. Avoid flattery and do not make known the benefits you do. Work in silence, bearing witness with your works of love to the truth of my teaching. 121 Love is your purpose. Love, for in this way you will wash away your stains, both from your present life and from past lives. 113, 58-59. 122 Reject flattery from you, for it is a weapon that will destroy your noble feelings. It is a sword that can kill that faith that I have kindled in your hearts. 123. How can you allow men to destroy the altar that you possess in the depths of your being? 106, 47-48. 124. Do not confuse humility with meager clothing. Neither believe that the one who has in himself a feeling of inferiority and for this reason is forced to serve others and bow down before them is humble. I tell you, the true humility is in him who is able to judge that he is someone, and who knows that he possesses some knowledge, but who is willing to stoop down to the others and takes pleasure in sharing with them what he has. 125. What grateful feeling you have when you experience that a man, respected among men, expresses to you affection, understanding, humility, the same feeling you can give to those who are among you or feel that way. 126. Understand to bend down, understand to reach out your hand without feeling superior. Learn to be understanding. I tell you that in these cases not only the one who receives the proof of affection, the support or the consolation is happy, but also the one who gives it, because he knows that above him there is one who has given him proofs of love and humility himself, and this is his God and Lord. 101, 60-62. 127. Live pure, humble, simple. Fulfill all that is just in the human sphere, as well as all that concerns your spirit. Remove from your life the superfluous, the artificial, the harmful, and instead refresh yourselves in all that is good in your existence. 131, 51. 128. See in no one an enemy, see in all men your brothers and sisters. That is your mission if you persevere in this until the end. Justice and love will triumph on earth, and this will give you the peace and security that you so much long for. 123, 65. 129. Give freedom to your heart so that it begins to feel the pain of the others. Don't let it be only busy and anxious to feel only what concerns your person. No longer be indifferent to the trials that humanity is going through. 130. When will your love be so great that it can embrace many fellow men to love them, as you love those who carry your blood in them and are flesh of your flesh? 131. If you knew that you are more in spirit than in body, many would not believe it. But I say to you, certainly you are more to the spirit than to your body, according to brothers and sisters, for the spirit belongs to eternity, while the body is perishable. 132. Consider, then, the fact that families here on earth are created today and dissolve again tomorrow, while the spiritual family exists forever. 290, 39-41. 133. Do you, who hear these words, think that I could sow in your hearts aversion or ill will towards those of your fellow men who profess other denominations? Never, disciples. It is you who should begin to set the example of brotherhood and harmony, looking and loving all with the same affection with which you look at those who share your way of thinking. 297, 49. 134. I know that the greater your knowledge is, the greater will be your love for me. When I tell you, love me, do you then know what I want to tell you with this? Love the truth, love the good, love the light, love one another, love true life. 297, 57-58. 135. Know, disciples, that the goal of your struggle is that state of mind which no longer achieves pain, and this goal is achieved through merits, struggles, trials, sacrifices and renunciations. 136. Notice those cases of patience, faith, humility and surrender that you sometimes discover in some of your fellow men. These are spirit beings sent by me to set an example of virtue among mankind. Apparently the fate of these creatures is sad, yet they know in their faith that they have come to fulfill a mission. 137. Great examples of my messengers and disciples you have received in your history, names that are known to you, but do not therefore fail to recognize the small examples you encounter on your path of life. 298, 30-32. 138. Do not believe that there were prophets, pioneers and spirits of light only in the bosom of the people of Israel. I have sent some of them to other nations as well, but people took them for gods and not for emissaries and created religions and cults from their teachings. 135, 15. 139. Always look first at the beam which you have in your eyes, disciples, in order to have the right to look at the splinter which your brother has. 140. By this I mean to tell you that you should not use my teaching to condemn the actions of your fellow men within their different denominations. 141. Verily, I say to you, in all those paths there are hearts that seek me through a noble and sacrificial life. 142. Nevertheless, the disciple asks me again and again why I allow that diversity of world views which sometimes contradict each other, create differences and cause enmities between men. 143. To this the Master says to you, it has been allowed because there are no two spirit beings who have exactly the same understanding, the same light, the same faith, and because you have also been given freedom of will to choose your way. You have never been compelled to walk the path of the law, but have been invited to do so, thus retaining the freedom to earn real merit in the desire for truth. 297, 23-24. 144. I want you to learn not to be careless in your judgments, nor to let yourselves be hastily determined by the first impression. 145. I give you this advice so that when you interpret my word, and even if you have to judge teachings, religions, philosophies, cults, spiritual revelations, or sciences, you may recognize that what you know is not all that exists, and that the truth you know is only a minimal part of the absolute truth, which is revealed here in a way, but which can be revealed in many other ways unknown to you. 266, 33. 146. Respect the religious convictions of your fellow men, and when you enter their churches, bear your heads in sincere devotion, knowing that I am present in every worship service. 147. Do not deny the world to follow me, nor separate yourselves from me on the pretext that you have duties in the world. Learn to merge both laws into one. 51, 53. 148. Don't I bless all the humanity without preferring anyone? From that mantle of blessing are surrounded both the good and meek, and the haughty and the criminal. Why do you not take me as your model? Do you feel revulsion at the actions of others? 149. Do not forget that you are a part of humanity, that you love it and forgive it, but do not reject it, for this would be as if you felt disgust before yourselves. Everything that you see in your neighbor you yourselves have to a greater or lesser degree. 150. That is why I want you to learn to fathom your inner being, so that you may get to know your spiritual and moral face. In this way you will know how to judge yourselves and have the right to look at others, too. 151 Do not look for faults in your fellow men, with those you have, it is enough. 286, 41-42. 152 Do you believe that you fulfill my commandment to love one another when you selfishly limit your love to your family? Do the religious communities believe that they fulfill that supreme commandment when they only recognize their believers and reject those who belong to another denomination? 153 The great peoples of the world, who boast of civilization and progress, can they, for example, claim to have achieved spiritual progress and to have obeyed that instruction of Jesus, if their whole effort is to prepare themselves for a fratricidal war? 154 O you men, you have never appreciated the value of my word, nor have you wanted to sit at the Lord's table because he seemed too humble to you. Yet my table continues to await you with the bread and wine of life for your spirit. 98, 50-51. 155 Do not consider my work as a burden and do not say that the fulfillment of the beautiful task of loving the Father and your fellow men is difficult for your spirit. What is really difficult is the cross of your own and other people's wickedness, for whose sake you must weep, bleed, and even die. The ingratitude, lack of understanding, selfishness, and slander will lie on you like a burden if you give them shelter. 156 To the recalcitrant man the fulfillment of my law may seem hard and difficult, because it is perfect and does not favor either wickedness or lies. But for the obedient man the law is his defense, his support and his salvation. 6, 16-17. 157 Also I say to you, men must believe in men, must have faith and trust in one another because you must come to the conviction that you all on earth need one another. 158 Do not think that it pleases me when you say that you believe in me, and I know that you doubt the whole world. For what I expect from you is this, that you love me through the love you show to your neighbor and forgive those who offend you, that you lovingly stand by the poorest, least or weakest, love your fellow men without distinction and let the greatest selflessness and truthfulness prevail in all your works. 159 Learn from me, because I have never doubted you. Believe in your salvation and trust that you will be lifted up to reach the true life. 167, 5-7. 160 Love your father, have mercy on your neighbor, separate yourselves from everything that is harmful to your human life or to your spirit. My teaching teaches you this. Where do you see the difficulties and the impossibilities? 161 No, beloved people, it is not impossible to obey my word, not this is difficult, but your improvement, renewal and spiritualization, because you lack generous feelings and high aspirations. But since I know that all your doubts, ignorance and indecision must disappear, I will continue teaching you, because for me there is nothing impossible. I can turn stones into bread of eternal life and make crystal clear water gush from rocks. 149, 63-64. 162 I remind you of the law, that which cannot be erased from your conscience, nor forgotten by your heart, nor called into question, because it was dictated by the wise intelligence, the universal intelligence, so that every man would inwardly possess the light that leads him on the way to God. 163 It is necessary to have a deep knowledge of the law, so that all acts of life may be based on truth and justice. Without knowledge of the law, you will inevitably commit many errors. But I ask you, has your conscience never brought you to the light of knowledge? Truly, I tell you, conscience has never been idle or indifferent. It is your heart, it is also your mind, which rejects the inner light, fascinated by the brilliance of the outer light, that is, the knowledge of the world. 306, 13-14. 164. Today, as I give a detailed explanation of my teaching, I must make you understand that everything you do outside the laws that govern the spirit or the body is to the detriment of both. 165. Conscience, intuition and knowledge are the guides that will show you the safe way and make you avoid falls. These lights belong to the spirit, but it is necessary to make them shine. Once that clarity is there in each of you, you will cry out, Father, your redeeming seed sprouted in my being, and your word finally blossomed in my life. 256, 37-38. 166. I have come to give greatness to your spirit, a greatness that is founded in the fulfillment of my law, which is my love. But you must prove yourselves worthy of this greatness by fulfilling your mission in following your Master. 343, 29. 167. I will always tell you, make use of the satisfactions that your world can give you, but enjoy them within the framework of my law, and you will be perfect. 168. Again and again you hear the reproach of conscience, and this is because you have not brought body and spirit into harmony through the law given by me. 169. Often you continue to sin because you believe that you will not be forgiven. This is an erroneous opinion, for my heart is a door that is always open to him who repents. 170. Is there no longer any hope living in you that encourages you to hope for a better future? Let not melancholy and despair take hold of you. Think of my love which is always with you. Seek with me the answer to your doubts, and you will soon feel enlightened by a new revelation. The light of faith and hope will shine deep within your spirit. Then you will be a defensive force for the weak. 155, 50-53. 171. Live always spiritual vigilant so that you can forgive from heart those who have hurt you. Think in advance that whoever hurts his fellow man does so only because he lacks spiritual light, but I tell you that forgiveness is the only thing that can bring light into those hearts. Resentment or revenge increase the darkness and bring about suffering. 99, 53. 172. Your conscience, which demands and expects perfect works from you, will not leave you in peace until you grant true forgiveness to your fellow men. 173. Why should you hate those who offend you when they are but steps so that you may come to me? When you forgive, you will earn merits, and when you are in the kingdom of heaven, you will recognize on earth those who helped you in your spiritual ascent. Then you will ask the Father that they, too, may find the means to save themselves and come to their Lord, and your intercession will make them obtain this grace. 44, 44-45. 174. Turn not away from those who in their despair blaspheme against me or against you. I give you for them a drop of my balm. 175. Be ready to forgive everyone who hurts you in what is dearest to you. Verily, I tell you, each time you grant sincere and true forgiveness in one of these trials, it will be another stage you will reach in your spiritual path of development. 176. Will you then feel resentment and refuse forgiveness to those who help you to come closer to me? Will you renounce the spiritual bliss of taking me as an example and allow violence to darken your brain to return every blow? 177. Verily, I tell you, this mankind does not yet know the power of forgiveness and the miracles that it works. Once it has faith in my word, it will convince itself of this truth. 111. 64-67. 178. Beloved people, unite with your brothers, so that when you are in dialogue with me, through the love I have inspired you, you forgive even the most serious insults. Why should you not forgive him who does not know what he is doing? He does not know because he does not realize that he is doing this evil to himself. 359, 25. 179. Forgive as often as you may be offended. Do not even consider the number of cases in which you must forgive. Your destiny is so high that you must not get caught in these footsteps of the way, for very great tasks await you further ahead. 180. Let your spirit always be ready for love, understanding and goodness, so that you may ascend to higher levels. 181. Just as in past times many of your brothers and sisters wrote beautiful pages in the eternal book of the Spirit with their works, so you are to continue that history in their succession, as an example and for the joy of the new generations who will come to earth. 322, 52. 182. Cultivate peace, love it and spread it everywhere, because how much mankind needs it. 183. Do not be disturbed by the changing destinies of life, so that you may always remain strong and ready to give what you have. 184. That peace, which is the inheritance of every spirit, has escaped in this time and has given way to war and martyred nations, destroyed institutions and destroyed spiritual beings. 185. The reason is that evil has taken possession of the human heart. Hatred, excessive ambition, unrestrained greed are spreading and causing harm. But how short will their reign be? 186. For your joy and reassurance I announce to you that your liberation is already near, that many people are working for this goal, who long to breathe in an atmosphere of brotherhood, purity and health. 335, 18. 187. You are to practice charity throughout your whole life. This is your task. You possess many gifts to give selfless help in various ways. If you know how to prepare yourselves, you will accomplish what you call impossible. 188. The activity of love which you do with a coin, although it too is an activity of love, will be the less superior one. 189. You must bring love, forgiveness and peace to the hearts of your fellow men. 190. I want no more Pharisees and hypocrites protected by my law. I want disciples who feel the pain of their fellow men. To all those who repentantly rise up, I will forgive, no matter what sect or church they profess, and I will show them the true way very clearly. 10. 104-107. 191. Hear me, be humble in the world, and sow good things on it, that ye may reap the fruits thereof in heaven. If it does not please you to have witnesses when you do evil, why is it pleasant for you to have such when you do good works? Of what can you boast, since you have only done your duty? 192 Understand that praise is harmful to your spirit, since you are so inexperienced and human. 193 Why, immediately after you have done a good work, do you expect your Father to give you the reward? He who thinks so does not act altruistically, and therefore his charity is false, and his love is far from being true. 194 Let the world see that you do good works, but not with the intention of receiving honors, but only to give good examples and teachings and to bear witness to my truth. 139, 56-58. 195 When your spirit comes together in the spiritual valley to give account of his stay and his works on earth, then what I ask you most of all will be all that you have asked and done for the benefit of your fellow men. Then you will remember my words on this day. 36,17. 196 In the second time mankind gave me a wooden cross, to whose martyrdom I was condemned by the people. But on my spirit I carried another, heavier and bloodier one, that of your imperfections and that of your ingratitude. 197 Would you be able to carry a cross of love and sacrifice for your neighbor on your shoulders and thus enter into my presence? Behold, for this purpose I sent you to earth, therefore your return will then happen when you come before me with fulfilled mission. This cross will be the key that opens the gates of the promised kingdom for you. 67,17, 18. 198 I do not demand of you that you leave everything behind, as I demanded of those who followed me in the second time. Among them some left their parents, another his companion, they left their house, their shores, their fishing boat and their nets, all these they left behind to follow Jesus. Neither do I tell you that it is necessary that you shed your blood in this time. 80, 13. 199 Understand that you have to change spiritually and physically, that many of your customs and traditions, a heritage of your ancestors, have to disappear from your life to make room for spiritualization. 63, 15. 200 At present you do not all understand what spiritualization means, nor do you understand why I call upon you to attain this inner elevation. Can you, for instance, be willing and obedient to my commandments when it does not even become clear to you what I am asking you to do? 201 But some understand the ideal which the Master inspires his disciples, and they will hasten to follow his instructions. 261,38. 202 If you really have the desire to become masters in spiritualization, you must be persistent, patient, eager to learn and attentive, because then you will have the opportunity to reap little by little the fruit of your works, through which you will accumulate experience, which is light, which is knowledge of the true life. 172, 9. 203 I am bringing a new lesson through which you will learn to live on earth spiritually, which is the true life that God has given to man. 204 I have already told you that spiritualization does not mean piety, nor religious fanaticism, nor supernatural practices. Spiritualization means harmony of the spirit with the body, observance of the divine and human laws, simplicity and purity in life, absolute and deep faith in the Father, trust and joy in serving God in neighbor, ideals of perfection of morality and the spirit. 279, 65-66. 205 You ask yourselves what is the meaning of the 7 steps of the ladder of heaven, and your Master tells you with certainty, The number 7 means spirituality. It is the spirituality I want to see in my chosen people Israel. 206 You must come to me with all your virtues and developed abilities. On the 7th stage or stage of your development you will arrive at me and see that heaven opens its gates to receive you. 346. 207 Understand first of all that as long as people do not reach complete spiritualization, they will need material churches and will put before their eyes sculptures or pictures that will make them feel my presence. 208 You can measure the degree of spiritualization or materialism of people by the nature of their religious worship. The materialist seeks me in the things of the earth, and if he does not see me according to his desires, he presents me in some way to feel that he has me before him. 209 He who understands me as spirit feels me in himself, outside of himself and in everything that surrounds him, because he has become my own temple. 125, 49-51. 210 Offer spiritual devotion to me and do not be like those who build churches and altars covered with gold and precious stones, like those who make long pilgrimages, chasten themselves with crude and cruel scourgings, kneeling under lip prayers and prayer litanies, and yet were not yet able to give me their heart. I have admonished you by conscience, and therefore I say to you, whoever speaks and speaks of what he did and blurts it out has no merit whatsoever with the Heavenly Father. 115, 9. 211 To fulfill my law, you must pray, always raising your spirit to your Father. 212 I have seen that in order to pray, you prefer solitude and silence, and you do well to do so when you seek inspiration through prayer or when you want to thank me. But likewise I tell you to pray, whatever your situation, so that in the most difficult moments of your life you may know how to call on my help without losing equanimity, self-control, faith in my presence and trust in you. 40, 34-35. 213 Tell me in silence your sufferings, entrust to me your desires. Although I know everything, I want you, little by little, to learn to formulate your own prayer until you are ready to exercise the perfect dialogue of your spirit with the Father. 110, 31. 214 You have become conscious of the effect that prayer has and have grasped the immeasurable power that is inherent in sending it up, both to avert a spiritual need and to ask for the resolution of a material need. 215 Remember that it was often enough to pronounce the word Father to make your whole being tremble and to make your heart feel that it is flooded with the consolation that His love gives. 216 Know that whenever your heart calls me with intimacy, also my spirit trembles with joy. 217 When you call me Father, when this name bursts forth from within you, your voice is heard in heaven and you wrest some mystery from divine wisdom. 166, 49-51. 218 It is necessary that you learn to ask, to wait and to receive, and that you never forget to pass on what I grant to you, in which the greatest merit consists. Pray for those who die day after day in war. I will grant to those who pray with a pure heart that even before 1950, everyone who has fallen in war will rise spiritually to the light. 84, 53. 219 Today you are still students and are not always able to understand my lesson, but for the time being, speak to God with your heart, with your thoughts, and He will answer you in the depths of your being. His message, which will speak in your conscience, will be a clear, wise, loving voice, which you will discover little by little, and to which you will later become accustomed. 205:47. 220. Do not be surprised nor indignant when I tell you that all splendor, power and pomp of your religious communities have to disappear, and that, when this happens, the spiritual table will already be set, at which the crowds of people hungry for love and truth will feed. 221. Many people will, when they hear these words, deny that they are mine. But then I will ask them why they are indignant, and what they are actually defending. Their lives. That I defend. My law. That is what I watch over as well. 222. Have no fear, for no one will die by defending my cause, only evil will die, for good, truth and justice will last forever. 125:54-56. 223. Do you think it incredible that this scientific and materialistic world feels once again inclination to spiritualization? I tell you that nothing is incredible because my power is unlimited. Inner elevation, faith, light and goodness are a more compelling necessity for the spirit than eating, drinking and sleeping is for your body. 224. Even if the gifts, abilities and qualities of the Spirit have been dormant for a long time, they will awaken at my call and will cause spiritualization to return to men with all its wonders and revelations, which will be greater than those of the past times, because now you are better able to understand them. 159:7-8. Development. 225. As you see the body of man developing, so also the spirit unfolds in him, but the body encounters a limit in its development, while the spirit needs many bodies and eternity to reach its perfection. This is the reason for your reincarnation. 226. You have been born like a seed from the fatherly and motherly creative spirit of God, pure, simple and pure. But make no mistake, for it is not the same thing to be pure and simple as to be great and perfect. 227. You can compare it to a child that has just been born and to an experienced man who teaches children. 228. This will be your destiny during all the stages of your life, once your spirit is developed. But how slowly your spirit progresses. 212:57-60. 229. Study, reflect thoroughly, for some are confused in the thought how it is possible, if your spirit is a particle of my divinity, that it suffers. And if the light of the Spirit is a spark of the light of the Holy Spirit, how can he see himself temporarily cloaked in darkness? 230. Recognize that this path of development serves to acquire sufficient merits before God by which you can transform your spirit from an ignorant and undeveloped spirit into a great spirit of light at the right hand of the Father. 231:12. 231. I want that you are good, and besides it is my desire that you become perfect, for although you are apparently insignificant, you are greater than material things and the worlds, because you have eternal life, are a spark of my light. 232. You are spirit beings. You must recognize what spirit is so that you may understand why I call you on the way to perfection. 17460. U. 233. You are subject to the law of development. This is the reason for your reincarnations. Only my spirit need not develop, I am unchangeable. 234 From the beginning I have shown you the ladder on which the spirit beings must ascend to reach me. Today you do not know on what level of being you are, but when you cast off your shell, you will know your degree of development. Do not stop, for you would be an obstacle for those who come after you. 235 Be united in spirit, even if you inhabit different levels, and one day you will be united on the 7th level, the highest, and enjoy my love. 8:25-27. 236 I have told you that you did not come to earth only once, but that your spirit has taken on body sheaths as many times as it was necessary for its development and perfection. Now I must add that it also depends on you whether the time is shorter or longer to reach the goal, according to your desire. 97:61. 237 Which one of you can prove that he did not exist before this life? Which of those who are absolutely certain that they are going through a new incarnation can prove that their account with the Father is settled and that they still have merit on their have side? 238 No one knows the level of perfection on which he is. Therefore fight, love, and persevere to the end. 46:58-59. 239 In order that I might give you these new revelations, it was necessary that in the time span that lay between my rallies to mankind as man and my coming in spirit at this time, you passed through many reincarnations on earth, so that your spirit might answer when I would demand of you the past lesson, and when I would give him new revelations, he might be able to understand them. 13:52. 240 How many times will you have to come back to earth to have a body through which the message you are giving to the world is revealed with ever greater clarity? 241 Let your spirit, like a lark, experience and rejoice in its springtime in this life, and let it find in its pilgrimage the necessary experience to return to me. 242 While the rich are accumulating treasures that are all too perishable, you are to accumulate experience, true knowledge. 142:72. 243 In this time you will fight against the ignorance of a humanity which, although materialized in all fields, is less cruel and more developed by the experiences it has gained in its past incarnations. 244 Nowadays, if you know someone who does not understand and express his worship of God in the way the majorities do, although this alienates you and offends you, you no longer cry out that he should be burned alive. 14:21-22. 245 Are you afraid to speak with your fellow men about the reincarnation of the Spirit? Are you not convinced of the loving justice it contains? 246 Compare this form of atonement with that of eternal punishment in the unending fire of hell, a concept that mankind uses to intimidate the spirit of men. Tell me which of these two kinds gives you the idea of a divine, perfect and merciful justice. 247 The one reveals cruelty, boundless resentment, revenge, the other contains only forgiveness, fatherly love, hope of obtaining eternal life. How great is the distortion that my teachings have suffered as a result of bad interpretations. 248 I am preparing you for battle because I know that you will be fought because of what you will teach. But if your fellow men, who are fighting you at this time, were to be surprised by death, and I, when they die in sin, would ask them what they prefer, the eternal fire in which they believe, or the opportunity to purify themselves in a new life, verily, I tell you, they would prefer the second solution, even if they should have fought it in their lives, blinded by fanaticism. 120, 15-17. 249 It is enough to know, as I have told you in my word, that the reincarnation of the Spirit is truth, and already a light is kindled in your hearts and you admire my loving righteousness even more. 250 Compare the theories and different interpretations which the denominations have given to these teachings and decide for the one which contains the most justice and has the most reason. 251 But truly, I tell you, this is one of the revelations that will most excite the Spirit in this time when the inner knowledge of this great truth is awakening. 63, 76. 252 You are to confirm that the reincarnation of the Spirit is one of the great truths that mankind is to know and believe. 253 Some suspect it, accept it and believe in it by intuition, as something that could not be lacking in my loving justice towards men. But there will also be many who will call you blasphemers and liars. 254 Do not worry, the same thing happened to my apostles when they preached the resurrection from the dead, as Jesus taught them. The priests and judges threw them into prison for preaching such teachings. 255 Later on the world accepted that revelation, although I can assure you that it could not grasp the full meaning of this teaching. So it is necessary that I come at this time and teach you that the resurrection of the flesh can only refer to the reincarnation of the Spirit, since this is the essence and reason for life, that which is in truth eternal. For what purpose should the dead bodies be resurrected, since they were but the perishable garments of the Spirit? 256 The flesh sinks into the earth and mingles with it. There it is purified, transformed, and continually rises to new life, while the Spirit continues to ascend, to progress toward perfection, and when he returns to earth, it is for him a resurrection to human life, and also for his new body cover, it is a resurrection in union with the Spirit. 257 But the material is not of imperishable nature, but the spiritual is well, which is why I tell you again that it is your spirit, whom I seek, whom I teach and whom I want to have with me. 151,56, 58. 258 Your spirit laboriously drags a chain behind him, which was created through the lives, which I have given you as opportunity for your perfection and which you did not make use of. Every existence forms a chain link. But if you arrange your life according to my teachings, if you keep the law, you will no longer come to this world to suffer. 259 If you let time pass without studying my word, I, who am the time, will surprise you. Study so that you may take the place in my work that is due to you. 260 I want the incomprehension and the different opinions about my divinity to end. Understand that you have all come forth from one God. 181, 63-65. 261 Observe the universe and appreciate it in all its perfection and beauty. It was created so that the children of the Lord would be inspired by it and see in it an image of the Father. If you understand creation in this way, you will raise your thinking to my divinity. 169, 44. 262 The light of this age tears apart the dark veil that enveloped the spirit of men, it breaks the chains that had bound him and prevented him from reaching the true way. 263 Verily I say to you, do not think that my teaching forbids the exploration of all fields of knowledge, for it is I who arouse your interest, your admiration and your curiosity. For this I have given you the ability to think, so that it moves unhindered in the direction where it wants to go. 264 I have given you the light of intelligence so that you may understand what you see on your way. Therefore I say to you, discover, research, but be careful that your approach to penetrate my secrets is respectful and humble, for then it will be truly permissible. 265 I have not forbidden you to know the books that men have written, but you must be trained so that you do not stumble and fall into error. Then you will know how man began his life and struggle and how far he has come. 266 When you are then ready, you must turn to my fountain of teachings and revelations so that I show you the future and the goal that awaits you. 179, 22-23. 267 I assure you, if you undertake to penetrate the meaning of these teachings with interest and love, you will discover at every turn true wonders of spiritual wisdom, perfect love, and divine justice. But if you are indifferent to these revelations, you will not know what they contain. 268 Do not pass by my rallies as many of you go through life, seeing without looking, hearing without hearing, and thinking without understanding. 333:11, 12. 269 I do not want you to examine my spirit or anything that belongs to the spiritual as if they were material objects. I do not want you to study me in the manner of scientists, for you would fall prey to great and deplorable errors. 276, 17. 270 All my teaching has the purpose to make you aware of all that your being contains, because from this knowledge the light is born to find the way that leads to the eternal, to the perfect, to God. 262, 43. Refinement and perfection. 271 Today you put before me your sufferings so that I alleviate them, and in truth I tell you that this is my task, that I have come for this because I am the divine physician. 272 But before my healing balm takes effect in your wounds, before my caress reaches you, concentrate on yourselves and test your pain, investigate it. Think about it thoroughly all the time it takes to do so, so that from this reflection you may draw the teaching which contains this test, as well as the knowledge which is hidden in it and which you must know. This knowledge will be experience, will be faith, will be a look into the face of truth, will be the explanation for many of you misunderstood trials and lessons. 273 Explore the pain as if it were something tangible, and you will discover in it the beautiful seed of experience, the great teaching of your being, because the pain has become the teacher in your life. 274 Whoever considers the pain as a teacher and with gentleness follows his exhortations, which he makes for renewal, repentance and improvement, will later know happiness, peace and health. 275 Examine yourselves carefully and you will experience how much benefit you will get from it. You will recognize your shortcomings and imperfections, you will correct them and therefore you will cease to be judges of others. 8, 50-53. 276 I need only to want it, and already you would be pure. But what merit would there be if it were I who purified you? Everyone is to make amends for his offenses against my law, this is merit. For then you will know how to avoid the falls and mistakes in the future, because the pain will remind you of them. 277 If a sincere repentance is established between the transgression committed and its natural consequences, the pain will not reach you, because then you will already be strong enough to endure the trial with submission. 278 The world drinks a very bitter cup, but I have not punished it. But after its pain it will come to me who calls it. Then those who were ungrateful will know how to thank him who has showered their existence only with good deeds. 33, 30-31. 279 Put away the excessive love for your body and have mercy on your spirit and help it to purify and to lift up. When you have achieved this, you will experience how strong you will be in spirit and body. 280 Remember, if the spirit is sick, how could there be peace in the heart? And if there is remorse in the spirit, can he enjoy peace there? 91, 72-73. 281 If this earth would give you everything what you desire, if there would not be the great spiritual trials on it, which of you then would desire to come into my kingdom? 282 Nor blaspheme or curse the pain, since you have created it with your transgressions. Bear it with patience, then it will purify you and help you to come closer to me. 283 Do you realize how strong your rootedness is in the glories and satisfactions of this world? Now, the time will come when the desire to move away from it will be very intense. 284 Whoever is able to pass his trials by spiritual upliftment experiences peace in this overcoming. He who walks on earth with his eyes turned toward heaven does not stumble, nor do his feet hurt on the thorns in his path of atonement. 48, 53-55. 285 Fulfill your destiny. Do not have the desire to return to me without first having covered the way which I showed you, because you would have the pain to see spots in your spirit, which he has not yet washed off because he did not reach the end of his atonement. 286 The reincarnations have passed over you, but many of you have not appreciated the infinite grace and love which the Father has granted you with it. 287 Remember, the greater the number of opportunities, the greater is your responsibility, and if these opportunities are not taken, with each of them the burden of atonement and compensatory justice will increase. This is the burden whose unbearable burden many beings cannot comprehend and which only my teaching can reveal to you. 67, 46. 288 Those trials in which men live are the fruits that they now reap are the result of their own seed, a harvest that is sometimes the consequence of the seed that they sowed the year before, and in other cases the fruit of what they sowed years before or in other incarnations. 178, 2. 289 Think not that the consequences of disobedience are immediately apparent, no. But what I am telling you is this, that sooner or later you must answer for your works, even if it sometimes seemed to you that your transgression had no consequences, considering that time passed and my righteousness gave no sign. 290 But you already know by my word that I am implacable as judge, and that when your judgment has come, you will open your eyes to the light of conscience. 298, 48. 291 O spirit beings, you who hear me, do not allow that the problems of earthly life leave their mark in you, and still less that they bend you. Seek the light, which contains every test, so that this helps you to become strong and moderate. 292 If the spirit does not succeed in subduing the body, soul, it will bend it and dominate it. For this reason the spirit beings become weak and believe that they die with the flesh. 89, 11-12. 293 Have you experienced in your life any physical passion that seized your whole being and made it impossible for you to hear the voice of conscience, morality and reason? 294 This happened when the spirit sank deeper, because then the temptations and the power of the beast of evil that dwells in the flesh overcame him. 295 And is it not true that when you succeeded in freeing yourselves from that passion and overcoming its influence, you experienced a deep happiness and peace? 296 This peace and joy are due to the victory of the spirit over the body, a victory obtained through an immense struggle, a bloody internal battle. But it was enough for the spirit to draw new strength and to straighten up, stimulated and advised by conscience, and already it conquered the impulses of the flesh, soul, and freed itself from being drawn still further into perdition. 297 In this struggle, in this renunciation, in this battle against yourselves, you have seen something die that dwelt within you, without being your life. It was only a senseless passion. 186 18, 19. 298 Know that you have the most powerful enemy within yourselves. When you have defeated him, you will see under your feet the dragon with 7 heads, of which the Apostle John spoke to you. Only then can you say in truth, I can lift up my face to my Lord to say to him, Lord, I will follow you. For then it will not only be the lips that say it, but the Spirit. 73, 20. 299 Soon you will realize that life is not cruel to you men, but that you are cruel with yourselves. You suffer and let those who are around you suffer for lack of understanding. You feel lonely, see that no one loves you, and become selfish and hard-hearted. 272,34. 300 Understand that all the sufferings of this life that you live are consequences of human failures, because I, who love you, could not offer you such a bitter cup. 301 I have revealed to you from the earliest times the law as a way to save yourselves from the falls, from ruin and from death. 215, 65. 302 Today you are not yet able to understand the meaning of your trials. You consider them unnecessary, unjust and unreasonable. But I will still tell you how much justice and sense of proportion there was in each of them when you grew old, and in others when you crossed the thresholds of this world and inhabited the spiritual regions. 301,44. 303 I tell you again that I perceive every thought and every request, while the world is not able to receive my inspiration, nor has prepared itself to let my divine thoughts shine in its mind, nor hears my voice when I answer to its call. 304 But I have confidence in you, believe in you, because I have created you and endowed you with a spirit which is a spark from me, and with a conscience which is my image. 305 If I were to tell you that I do not expect you to perfect yourselves, it would be as if I were to declare that I have failed in the greatest work that has come out of my divine will, and this cannot be. 306 I know that you live in the time in which your spirit will emerge victorious from all temptations that he encounters on his way. Afterwards it will rise full of light to a new existence. 238, 52-54. On this side and beyond the earthly. 307 Work on yourselves, Do not wait until death surprises you unprepared. What have you prepared for the time when you return to spiritual life? Do you want to be surprised while you are still bound by chains to matter, passions and earthly possessions? Do you want to enter the hereafter with your eyes closed, without finding the way, taking with you the weariness of this life imprinted in the spirit? Prepare yourself, disciples, and you will not fear the coming of physical death. 308 Do not sigh because you have to leave this earth valley, because, even if you recognize that miracles and glories exist in it, I tell you in truth that these are only a reflection of the beauties of spiritual life. 309 If you do not awaken, what will you do when you are at the beginning of a new way, which is illuminated by a light that appears to you unknown? 310 Depart from this world without tears, without leaving pain in the heart of your loved ones. Separate yourselves when the moment comes and leave on the face of your body a smile of peace that speaks of the liberation of your spirit. 311 The death of your body does not separate you from the beings who were entrusted to you, nor does it release you from the spiritual responsibility that you have for those who were your parents, brothers and sisters or children. 312 Understand that for the love, for the duty, for the feelings, in a word, for the spirit, death does not exist. 70, 14-19. 313 Work with great zeal so that, when death comes and you close the eyes of your body for this life, your spirit may feel lifted up by itself until it reaches the home that it has reached by its merits. 314 The disciples of this work, at the coming of physical death, will experience how easily the bonds that bind the spirit to the body are broken. There will be no pain in him because he will have to leave the comforts of the earth. Spirit will not wander as a shadow among men, knocking from door to door, from heart to heart in the desire for light, for love and peace. 133, 61-62. 315 Lift up your spirit, that you may find favor only in the eternal, beautiful and good. If not, your spirit, materialized by the life you have lived, will suffer much to detach from his body and all that he leaves behind, and will wander in confusion and bitter pain in the spaces for a time until he attains his purification. 316 Live in my law, then you need not fear death. But do not call or desire it before time. Let him come, for he always obeys my commands. Make sure that he finds you prepared, then you will enter the spiritual world as children of light. 56, 43-44. 317 Live in peace in your homes, make of them a sanctuary, so that when the invisible beings enter, who wander confused in the spiritual valley, they may find in your being the light and the peace that they seek, and they may ascend in the hereafter. 41, 50. 318 To you, who live in the spirit and are still devoted to the material aims, I say, turn away from what no longer belongs to you, for if the earth is not the eternal home for man, it is even less so for the spirit. Beyond, in the spiritual valley, a life full of light awaits you, to which you will reach step by step on the path of good. 319 To those who listen to me as human beings, I say that they, as long as they possess this body, which accompanies them on their earthly journey of life, must cultivate it and keep it until the very last moment. For it is the staff on which the spirit rests, and the instrument for fighting. Through his material eyes the spirit looks upon this life, and through his mouth he speaks and can comfort his brothers. 57, 3. 320 Now the Master asks you, where are your dead, and why do you weep over the disappearance of the beings whom you love? Verily, I tell you, in my eyes no one has died, for to all I have given eternal life. They all live, those whom you thought lost are with me. Where you think you see death, there is life, where you see the end, there is the beginning. Where you think that everything is mystery and unfathomable mystery, there is the light, shining like an everlasting dawn. Where you think that this is nothingness, is everything, and where you suspect the great silence, is a concert. 164, 6. 321 Whenever the death ends the existence of your bodily shell, this is like a rest for the spirit who, when he incarnates again, returns with new powers and greater light, continuing the study of that divine lesson which he had not finished in this way. Through the ages, the wheat that is your spirit matures. 322 I have revealed many things to you concerning the spiritual life, but I tell you that now you do not yet need to know everything, but only that which is essential for your coming to the eternal homeland. There I will tell you all that which is destined to be known to you. 99, 32. 323 Can you imagine the happiness of him who returns to the spiritual life and has fulfilled on earth the destiny which his Father has marked out for him? His satisfaction and peace are infinitely greater than all the satisfactions which the spirit can reap in human life. 324 And this opportunity I offer you so that you may belong to those who have joy when they return to their kingdom, and not to those who suffer and weep in their deep consternation or remorse. 93, 31-32. 325 Already the end of this rallies is near, to then take it up again in a higher form through the beginning of the dialogue from spirit to spirit with your Creator, which the higher spirit beings use, who dwell with me. 157,33. 326 When I speak to you about my spiritual world, I mean those hosts of obedient spirit beings, who as true servants only do what the will of their master commands them. 327 These I have sent to you so that they may be advisors, protectors, physicians and true brothers and sisters for all men. They do not lament, for they have peace in themselves. They do not ask questions, because the light of their development and their experience on the long ways has given them the right to enlighten the minds of men. They are ready and humble at every call for help and in every need. 328 It is I who have commanded them to make themselves known among you, so that they may give you their instructions, their witness and their encouragement. They go before you, purifying the way and giving you their assistance, so that you do not lose heart. 329 Tomorrow also you will belong to this army of light, which works in the infinite world of the spirit beings only out of love for its human brothers and sisters, in the awareness that it thereby glorifies and loves its Father. 330 If you want to become like them, consecrate your existence to good. Share your peace and your bread, receive the needy with love, visit the sick and the prisoner. Bring light on the path of your fellow men, who grope around in search of the true path. Fill infinity with noble thoughts. Pray for those who are absent, then prayer will bring them near to you. 331 Then, when death stops the beat of your heart, and the light in your eyes goes out, you will awaken to a world marvelous by its harmony, its order and its justice, there you will begin to understand that the love of God can compensate you for all your works, trials and sufferings. 332 When a spirit comes to that home, he feels more and more permeated by an infinite peace. Immediately he remembers those who still live far from that bliss, and in his urge, his longing that those he loves also attain that divine gift, he joins the spiritual hosts who fight and work for the salvation, welfare, and peace of their earthly brothers and sisters. 170, 43-48. 333 Who has seen the battles these legions of light fight against the invasions of confused beings that constantly threaten you? There is no human gaze that has discovered this battle, that the two of them are incessantly fighting against each other, without you having noticed it. 334, 77. 334 See here the continuation of my work, my coming in the third time as a spirit of consolation, surrounded by my great hosts of angels, as it is written. 335 These spirit beings in my retinue represent a part of that consolation I have promised you, and in their salutary counsels and examples of virtue you have already received proofs of their mercy and peace. Through them I have granted you benefits, and they have been intermediaries between you and my spirit. 336 When you have perceived their own gifts of grace and their humility, you have felt inspired to do works as pure as those they have done in your life. When they visited your home, you felt honored by their spiritual presence. 337 Be blessed if you have recognized their generosity. But the Master tells you, do you think that they have always been virtuous beings? Do you not know that a great number of them have inhabited the earth and have known weakness and grave transgressions? 338 But now look at them, they have no blemishes in themselves, and this is because they listened to the voice of conscience, awakened to love, and repented of their former transgressions. In that melting pot they purified themselves to rise up worthily, and today they serve me by serving mankind. 339 Their spirit, out of love, has taken on the task of assisting his neighbors to make up for all that they failed to do when they inhabited the earth, and as a divine gift they have taken the opportunity to sow the seed they did not sow before and to eliminate every imperfect work they have done. 340 Therefore you now experience with amazement their humility, their patience and their gentleness, and occasionally you have seen them suffer for the sake of their reparation. But their love and their knowledge, greater than the obstacles they encounter, overcome everything, and they are ready to go to sacrifice. 354, 14-15. 341 Do you suspect the spiritual home which you left to come to the earth? No, Master, you tell me, we suspect nothing, nor do we remember anything. 342 Yes, people, it has been so long since you departed from purity and innocence that you cannot even imagine that existence in peace, that state of well-being. 343 But now that you have been trained to hear the voice of conscience and receive its revelations from it, the way is within your reach which leads those who turn to me to the promised kingdom. 344 It is not that paradise of peace from which the first departed, but that infinite world of the Spirit, the world of wisdom, the paradise of true spiritual bliss, the heavens of love and perfection. 287, 14-15. Revelations of the Divine. 345 The Father of all the beings speaks to you in these moments. The love that created you makes itself felt in everyone who hears this word. 102, 17. 346 The only God who exists speaks to you, whom you called Jehovah when he showed you his power and revealed the law to you on Mount Sinai, whom you called Jesus, because in him was my word, and whom you call the Holy Spirit today, because I am the Spirit of truth. 51, 63. 347 When I speak to you as Father, the book of the law opens before you. When I speak to you as Master, it is the book of love that I show to my disciples. When I speak to you as the Holy Spirit, it is the book of wisdom that enlightens you through my teachings. These form one teaching, for they come from one God. 141, 19. 348 God is light, love, justice. Everyone who reveals these qualities in his life will represent and honor his Lord. 291. 349 Do not say that I am the God of poverty or of sadness, because you consider that Jesus was always followed by crowds of sick and afflicted. Although I seek the sick, the mourning and the poor, I do it to fill them with joy, health and hope, because I am the God of joy, life, peace and light. 113, 60. 350 Yes, people, I am the beginning and the end of you, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Although I do not yet communicate or reveal to you all the teachings that I have in store for your spirit and that you will only experience when you are already very far from this world. 351 I will reveal many new lessons to you in this present time, but I will give you what you are able to possess without thinking much of you or showing off to men with proud superiority. You know that he who is proud of his works destroys them by just this pride. This is why I have taught you to work in silence so that your works bear a fruit of love. 106, 46. 352 Nor are you able to comprehend many of the revelations which are destined to be part of your knowledge, and of which men have assumed that their knowledge belongs to God alone. As soon as someone expresses his desire to interpret them, or seeks to penetrate them, he is immediately called blasphemous or considered presumptuous. 165, 10. 353 You still have much to learn to be receptive to my inspirations and my calls. How often you perceive the vibrations of the spiritual without being able to understand who is calling you. That language is so confusing to you that you cannot understand it, and you end up attributing spiritual manifestations to hallucinations or material causes. 249, 24. 354 Do not be surprised that although I am the Lord of all that is created, I appear among you and ask for love. I am the God of meekness and humility. I do not boast of my greatness, rather I hide my perfection and my splendor to come closer to your heart. If you would see me in all my glory, how much would you weep over your transgressions? 63, 48. 355 Feel me very close to you. Proofs of this I give you in the difficult moments of your life. It was my desire that you prepare my dwelling from your hearts to feel my presence in it. 356 How is it that you cannot feel me although I am in you? Some see me in nature, others feel me only beyond all matter, but truly, I tell you, I am in everything and everywhere. Why do you always seek me outside of you when I am also in you? 1. 47-48. 357. Even if there were no religions in the world, it would be enough to concentrate you at the bottom of your being to find my presence in your inner temple. 358. Also I tell you that it would be enough to observe all that life offers you to discover in it the book of wisdom, which continually shows you its most beautiful pages and its deepest teachings. 359. You will then understand that it is not right for the world to go astray while carrying the right way in its heart, nor to wander in the darkness of ignorance while living in the midst of so much light. 131, 31-32. 360. Today my universal language makes itself heard by all to say to them, although I am in each one of you, let no one say that God exists only in man, because it is the beings and all that is created that is within God. 361. I am the Lord, you his creatures. I will not call you servants, but children, but know that I am above all. Love my will, and observe my law, be aware that in my decrees no imperfection nor error is possible. 136, 71-72. 362. I created you to love you and to feel loved. You need me as I need you. Whoever says that I do not need you does not speak the truth. If it were so, I would not have created you, nor would I have become man to save you through that sacrifice which was a great proof of love. I would have let you perish. 363. But you must recognize that when you feed on my love, it is just that you offer the same to your Father, for I tell you again and again, I thirst for your love. 146, 3. 364. How can you believe that I love the less that suffers more? How can you take your pain as a sign that I do not love you? When you understand that I have come to you precisely out of love. Have I not told you that the just man is already saved and that the healthy man does not need a doctor? If you feel ill and recognize yourselves as sinners in your self-examination in the light of your conscience, be sure that it is you who are seeking I have come. 365. If you believe that God has shed tears at times, surely it has not been for the sake of those who enjoy his heavenly kingdom, but for those who are confused or cry. 150-51. 366. My Father's house is prepared for you. When you come to him, you will enjoy him in truth. How could a father live in a royal chamber and enjoy delicious food when he knows that his own children stand at the gates of his own house like beggars? 73-37. 367. Learn to know the law, love the good, let love and mercy become action. Grant to your spirit the holy freedom to rise up to his homeland, and you will love me. 368. Do you want a perfect example of how you must act and how you must be made up to reach me? Take Jesus as your model, love me in him, seek me through him, come to me on his divine track. 369. But you are not to love me in his bodily form or in his image, or even replace the practice of his teachings with rites or outward forms, because otherwise you will remain eternally in your differences, in your enmity and fanaticism. 370. Love me in Jesus, but in his spirit, in his teaching, and you will fulfill the eternal law, for in Christ justice, love and wisdom are united in unity, with which I made known to mankind the existence and omnipotence of his Spirit. 1. 71-72. Man and his purpose. 371 Already for a long time you have no longer kept to me, you no longer know what you are in reality, because you have allowed that in your being many qualities, abilities and gifts, which your Creator put in you, slumber idly. You are asleep with respect to spirit and conscience, and it is in their spiritual qualities that the true greatness of man lies. You live like the beings that are of this world, because they arise and perish in it. 85:57. 372 The Master asks you, O beloved disciples, what is yours in this world? All that you possess, the Father has given you, that you may use it in your walk on earth as long as your heart beats. Since your spirit comes from my divinity, since he is a breath of the Heavenly Father, since he is the incarnation of an atom of my spirit, since your body was also formed according to my laws, and since I entrusted him to you as an instrument of your spirit, nothing belongs to you, beloved children. All created things belong to the Father, and he has made you temporarily owners of them. Remember that your material life is but a step in eternity, it is a ray of light in infinity, and therefore you must pay attention to that which is eternal, that which never dies, and that is the Spirit. 147:8. 373 The Spirit shall guide the mind, and the mind, guided only by a heart, soul, longing for human greatness, shall not rule your life. 374 Consider this, if you want to let yourselves be determined by what your brain commands, you will overtax it and not go beyond what its small powers allow it. 375 I say to you, if you want to know why you have felt inspired to do good and why your heart is inflamed by charity, allow that your heart and your powers of mind are guided by the Spirit, then you will be amazed at the power of your Father. 286:7. 376 The right thing is when the Spirit reveals wisdom to the human mind, soul, and not the mind gives light to the Spirit. 377 Many will not comprehend what I am telling you here, and this is because you have long since perverted the order of your life. 295:48. 378 Know, disciples, that spiritualization allows the conscience to manifest itself with greater clarity, and whoever hears this wise voice will not be deceived. 379 Make yourselves familiar with conscience. It is a friendly voice, it is the light through which the Lord lets his light shine, whether as Father, as Master, or as Judge. 293:73-74. 380 Be untiring in reading my word repeatedly like an invisible chisel. It will take on the task of smoothing the sharp edges of your character until you are prepared to deal with even the most difficult problems of your fellow men. 381 You will discover sufferings, atonement, compulsions and duties of reparation with them, the causes of which can be very different. Some do not have a particularly difficult origin, but there will be others which you can only enlighten by intuition, revelation and clairvoyance, to free your fellow men from a heavy burden. 382 These gifts of the Spirit will bring about that miracle only when the one who operates them is inspired by the love for his neighbor. 149:88. 383 Why do men speak of supernatural when everything in me and in my works is natural? Are not rather the evil and imperfect works of men supernatural, since the natural thing would be that they would always act well in view of him from whom they have come forth, and of the qualities which they possess and carry within them? In me everything has a simple and deep explanation, nothing remains in the dark. 384 You call all that supernatural what you do not understand or consider wrapped in mystery, but as soon as your spirit, by merit, has achieved its elevation, and sees and discovers what it could not see before, it will find that everything in creation is natural. 385 If some centuries ago the progress and discoveries that man would make in the present time had been announced to mankind, even the scientists would have doubted and considered such marvels as supernatural. But today, as you have evolved and followed the progress of human science step by step, you consider them natural works, even if you admire them. 198, 11-12. 386 I must tell you, do not believe that the spirit necessarily needs the human body and the life in the world to be able to develop, but the lessons he receives in this world are of great benefit for his perfection. 387 Matter helps the spirit in his development, in his experiences, in his expiations and in his struggles. This is the task which is his, and you can find it confirmed in this rallies of my divinity by man, where I make use of his brain and use it as a receiving device to transmit my message. Understand that not only spirit is destined for the spiritual, but that even the smallest thing within the material has been created for spiritual purposes. 388 I address a thought-provoking impulse and a call to your spirit, so that it may override the influence of the material that dominates it and, using the gift of intuition, give its light to the heart and the mind. 389 This my light means for your spirit the way to his liberation. This my teaching offers him the means to rise above human life and to be the guide of all his works, master of his feelings and not slave of low passions, nor victim of weaknesses and needs. 78, 12-15. 390 Who but I is perhaps able to rule in the spirit beings and to determine their destiny? No one. Whoever, therefore, in his desire for rule, has tried to take his master's place, creates for himself a kingdom that corresponds to his inclinations, whims, lust for power, and vanities, a kingdom of matter, of base passions and of base feelings. 391 You cannot oppress conscience, for in it is perfect righteousness. In the spirit only purity has power over noble feelings, only the good moves him. In a word, the spirit feeds itself only on what is true and good. 184, 49-50. 392 Since I have formed all created things on earth for the refreshment of man, use them always for your good, but do not forget that there is a voice within you that points out to you the limits within which you may make use of all that nature offers you, and you are to obey this inner voice. 393 Just as you strive for your body for a home, for protection, sustenance and satisfaction, to make your existence more pleasant, so you should also grant to the spirit what he needs for his well-being and his upward development. 394 If he feels attracted by higher regions, where his true home is, let him be lifted up. Do not hold him captive, for he seeks me to nourish and strengthen himself. I tell you, every time you allow him to free himself in this way, he will happily return to his body shell. 125, 30. 395 The spirit wants to live, he seeks his immortality, he wants to cleanse and purify himself, he has hunger for knowledge and thirst for love. Let him think, feel, and act, grant him that he may use a part of the time at your disposal for himself, so that he may make himself known in it and refresh himself in his freedom. 396 Of all that you are here in the world, after this life only your spirit being will remain. Let it accumulate virtues and merits and keep them within itself, so that when the hour of its liberation comes, it will not be a poor soul at the gates of the promised land. 111, 74-75. 397 I do not want any more atonement or pain for you. I want the spirits of all my children, as the stars embellish the firmament, to illuminate my kingdom with their light and fill your Father's heart with joy. 171, 67. 398 My word will reconcile the spirit with the body, soul, since enmity has existed between the two for a long time, so that you may learn that your body, which you have regarded as an obstacle and a temptation for the development path of the spirit, can be the best tool for the fulfillment of your tasks on earth. 138, 51. 399 Make sure that there is harmony between the spirit and the body shell, so that you can easily fulfill my instructions. Make the body supple in a loving way, apply severity when necessary. Be careful, however, that fanaticism does not blind you, so that you do not act cruelly on it. Form a single will from your being. 57, 65. 400 I tell you not only to purify your spirit, but also to strengthen your body so that the new generations that come forth from you may be healthy and their spirits may fulfill their difficult mission. 51, 59. 401 I want you to create homes that believe in the only God, homes that are temples where love, patience and self-denial are practiced. 402 In them you are to be teachers of the children, whom you are to surround with tenderness and understanding, over whom you are to watch, following all their steps with compassion. 403 Give your love both to those who are covered with beauty and to those who seem to be ugly. A beautiful face is not always the reflection of an equally beautiful spirit. Behind those creatures of apparent ugliness, on the other hand, there may be hidden a spirit full of virtue, whom you should cherish. 142, 73. 404 Think earnestly of the generations that come after you. Think of your children as you have given them the physical being, so you also have the duty to give them spiritual life, that which is faith, virtue, and spiritualization. 138, 61. 405 Watch over the virtue of your families and the peace of your homes. See how even the poorest can be owners of this treasure. 406 Recognize that the human family is an embodiment of the spiritual family. In it the man becomes father, thus having real similarity with his heavenly Father. The woman with her motherly heart full of tenderness is the image of the love of the Divine Mother, and the family they form together is an embodiment of the spiritual family of the Creator. 407 The home is the temple where you can best learn to fulfill my laws, if the parents were willing to work on themselves. 408 The destiny of parents and children is in me. But to the one as to the other it comes to assist one another in their tasks and their duties of atonement. 409 How easy would be the cross and bearable existence if all parents and children loved one another. The most difficult trials would be made easier by love and understanding. Their surrender to the divine will would see them rewarded with peace. 199, 72-74. 410 Study the spirit beings that surround you and those that cross your path of life, so that you may learn to appreciate their virtues, receive the message that they bring to you, or give them what they should receive from you. 411 Why have you despised your neighbors whom fate has put in your way? You have closed the door of your heart to them without learning the teaching that they were supposed to bring to you. 412 Often you have just kept away from yourselves the one who brought a message of peace and comfort to your spirit, and then you complain when you have filled your cup with bitterness. 413 The life brings unexpected changes and surprises, and what will you do when tomorrow you have to look longingly for the one whom today you arrogantly rejected? 414 Remember that it is possible that tomorrow you will have to seek full of desire the one rejected and despised today, but that often it will be already too late. 11:26-30 415 What beautiful example of harmony the cosmos offers you. Radiant stars, swinging full of life in space, around which other stars circle. I am the radiant, divine star that gives life and warmth to the spirit beings, but how few move on their marked orbit, and how numerous are those who circle far from their orbit. 416 You could tell me that the material stars have no freedom of will, and that on the other hand just this freedom let men stray from the path. That is why I say to you, how meritorious will the fight be for every spirit, since he, despite the gift of freedom of will, knew how to subordinate himself to the law of harmony with his Creator. 84,58 417 No one who calls himself a disciple of this spiritual teaching complains to the Father about being poor in his material life and lacking many of the comforts that others have in abundance, or suffering from want and deprivation. These complaints are born of the material nature, which, as you know, has only one existence. 418 Your spirit has no right to speak thus to its Father, nor to be discontented or to quarrel with its own fate, for all spirit beings have passed through the whole ladder of experiences, joys, and human satisfactions in their long journey of development over the earth. 419 The spiritualization of the spirit beings has already begun a long time ago. To this end, help yourselves to that pain and that poverty which your heart is resisting to endure and to suffer. Every spiritual and material good has a meaning which you must recognize so that you do not deny the value of either one or the other. 87:26-27 420 Every man, every creature has an assigned place, which he should not give up, but neither should he take the place which is not his due. 109:22 421 Why do you fear the future? Do you want to leave all the experience your spirit has accumulated in the past unused? Do you want to abandon the seed without reaping the harvest? No, disciples. Remember that no one can change his destiny, but he can delay the hour of his victory and increase the suffering that exists in every way. 267:14 422 The kingdom of the Father is the inheritance of all children. This grace can be obtained only through great merits of the Spirit. I want you not to consider it impossible to attain the grace that brings you closer to me. 423 Do not be sad when you hear in my words that you can reach the promised land only with great effort and toil. Rejoice, for whoever directs his life toward this goal does not suffer disappointments, nor does he see himself deceived. He will not fare as many do, who strive for the glory of the world and yet do not reach it after many efforts, or who, though they do reach it, soon experience the suffering of seeing it fall apart until nothing remains of it. 142-43. 424 I give you the key to open the doors to your eternal bliss. This key is love, from which springs mercy, forgiveness, understanding, humility and peace, with which you are to go through life. 425 How great is the happiness of your spirit when he has dominion over matter and enjoys the light of the Holy Spirit. 340, 56-57. 426 This earth, which has always sent a harvest of sick, tired, disturbed, confused spirit beings into the hereafter, or such with only little maturity, will soon offer me fruits worthy of my love. 427 Sickness and pain will increasingly disappear from your life when you lead a healthy and uplifting existence. When then death comes, it will find you prepared for the journey to the spiritual home. 117, 24-25. 428 Despair not, O spirit beings, to whom I address my word in particular. Remain steadfast in my way, and you shall know peace. Verily, I say to you, you are all destined to experience bliss. I would not be your father if you had not been created to share the kingdom of heaven with me. 429 But do not forget, in order that your bliss may be perfect, it is necessary for you to bring in your merits step by step, so that your spirit may feel worthy of that divine reward. 430 Know that I am with you, accompanying you all the way. Have full trust in me, knowing that my task is united with yours, and my destiny with yours. 272, 61. Vices, misconduct, aberrations. 431 Understand my teaching so that you do not commit further errors in your life, for every offense you inflict on your fellow men, whether by words or works, will be an indelible memory in your conscience, which will reproach you irreconcilably. 432 I tell you once more that you are all needed for the divine plan to be fulfilled and for the end of such great spiritual misery among men. 433 As long as selfishness exists, pain will also exist. Transform your indifference, your selfishness and your contempt into love, into compassion, and you will experience how soon peace will come to you. 11, 38-40. 434 Seek your progress within the human life, but never let yourselves be dominated by excessive ambition, for then you will lose your freedom and materialism will enslave you. 51, 52. 435 I forgive your transgressions, but at the same time I correct you so that you expel from your hearts selfishness, because it is one of the weaknesses that bring down the spirit the deepest. 436 I touch you by conscience so that you remember your duties among brothers and sisters and sow works of love and forgiveness on your way, as I taught you in the second age. 329. 437 Today the power of the matter and the influence of the world has made you egoists, but matter is not eternal, neither is the world and its influence, and I am the patient judge, whose justice is Lord of life and time. You must not judge those who deny me, because then I will find you guiltier than them. 438 Did I raise my voice to condemn my executioners? Have I not blessed them with love and meekness? If only you understand that many of those who temporarily went astray in the world because of this offense are today in the spiritual world purified. 54, 47-48. 439. Do not try either to uncover the hidden feelings of your neighbor, because in every being there exists a secret that only I may know. But if you should discover that which, since it belongs only to your brother, is to be holy for you, do not make it known, do not tear this veil, rather make it denser. 440. How often have I seen men penetrate into their brother's heart until they have discovered his moral or spiritual nakedness, to take pleasure in it and make it known immediately. 441. None of those who have thus desecrated the private life of a fellow man should be surprised when someone exposes and mocks him in his life's path. He should not then say that it is the yardstick of justice that measures him, for it will be the yardstick of injustice with which he has measured his fellow men. 442. Respect the others, cover with your cloak of mercy the exposed and defend the weak against the gossip of men. 44, 46-48. 443. Not all those who wander in the streets and alleys and speak of the events of past times and interpret prophecies or explain revelations are my messengers, for many have misused those messages out of vanity, bitterness or human self-interest, to insult and judge, to humiliate or hurt, and even to kill. 116, 21. 444. Open yourself, humanity, discover the way, discover the reason for life. Unite, people with people, love each other. How thin is the dividing wall that separates one home from another, and yet, how distant are its inhabitants from one another. And at the borders of your countries, how many conditions are required there that you may let the foreigner through. If you do this even among brothers of men, what have you done only with those who are in another life? You have let down a curtain between them and yourselves, if not that of your forgetfulness, then that of your ignorance, which is like thick fog. 167, 31. 445. Do you see those men who live only to satisfy an excessive thirst for power and in so doing disregard the life of their neighbors, without respecting the rights that I, their Creator, have granted them? Do you see how their works speak only of envy, hatred and greed? So you must pray more for them than for others, who are not so needy of the light. 446. Forgive these people all the pain they cause you, and help them to come to reason with your pure thoughts. Do not make the fog that surrounds them even denser around them, for when they once have to answer for their deeds, I will also call to account those who, instead of praying for them, sent them only darkness with their evil thoughts. 113, 30. 447. Remember that it was said to you in the law, you shall have no other gods beside me. Nevertheless, there are many gods whom human ambition has created to worship them, to pay tribute to them, and even to sacrifice their lives. 448. Understand that my law is not obsolete, and that, without you being conscious, it speaks to you incessantly through conscience, but men continue to be pagans and idolaters. 449. They love their bodies, flatter their vanities and give in to their weaknesses. They love the treasures of the earth, to which they sacrifice their peace and their spiritual future. They pay homage to the flesh, sometimes reaching the point of degeneration and even finding death in the desire for pleasures. 450 Convince yourselves that you have loved the things of the world more than your Father. When did you sacrifice yourselves for me by loving me in your neighbor and serving me? When did you sacrifice your sleep or endanger your health to provide help and alleviate the sufferings that afflict your fellow men? And when did you go to near death for one of the noble ideals that my teaching inspires? 451 Recognize that the cult which you practice with the material life comes for you before the worship of the spiritual life. That is why I have told you that you have other gods whom you worship and to whom you serve more than the true God. 118, 24-26. 452 You are so accustomed to sin that your life seems to you to be the most natural, normal and acceptable, and yet it seems that Sodom and Gomorrah, Babylon and Rome have passed all their vice and sin upon this humanity. 275, 49. 453 Today you live in a time of spiritual confusion, in which you call evil good, in which you think to see light where there is darkness, in which you prefer the superfluous to the essential. But my ever-ready and helpful mercy will intervene in time to save you and show you the light-filled way of truth, the way from which you have gone. 358, 30. 454 In order to be able to triumph in all the trials, do what the Master has taught you, watch and pray, so that your eyes are always alert and you are not overcome by temptation. Remember that evil has great intuition to tempt you, to bring you down, to defeat you, to take advantage of your weakness. Be perceptive so that you can discover it when it is lying in wait for you. 327,10. 455 Verily I say to you, out of these darknesses mankind will find the way to the light. But this step will happen slowly. What would become of men if they understood in an instant all the evil they had caused? Some would lose their minds, others would take their own lives. 61, 52. Purification and Spiritualization of Humanity. 456 You have forgotten the law and have waited until the forces of nature reminded you of my righteousness. Hurricanes, watercourses overflowing their banks, earthquakes, droughts, floods, are calls that shake you up and speak to you of my righteousness. 457 What other fruit can mankind offer me in this time than that of discord and materialism? This people, who have listened to my teaching for years, cannot offer me a good harvest either. 69, 54-55. 458 Do ye not hear the cries of righteousness? Do you not see the forces of nature, how they afflict one region after another? Do you think that if you lived a virtuous life, there would be a need for my justice to be felt in this way? Verily, I tell you, there would be no need to purify you if I had found you pure. 69, 11. 459 Although at present it seems impossible to you to make peace in humanity, I tell you that peace will come, and more than that, that man will live in spiritualization. 460 The world will suffer much misfortune before this time comes. But those sufferings will be for the good of mankind, both on earth and in the spiritual. It will be like a so far and no further for the unrestrained course of evil deeds, selfishness and pleasure-seeking of men. 461 In this way a balance will come about, for the forces of evil will no longer be able to overcome the forces of good. 462 This purification, because it always concerns the most sensitive and beloved, has the appearance of punishment without being it. For in reality it is a means of salvation for those spirit beings who have strayed from the path or lost it. 463 He who judges earthly can discover nothing useful in pain, but he who considers that he possesses a spirit who will live forever wins light, steadfastness, and renewal from the same pain. 464 If you think spiritually, how can you believe that pain is an evil for mankind, when it comes from a God who is all love? 465 Time passes and a time will come when those great trials will begin to appear, and even the last remnant of peace will escape from the world, which will not return until mankind has found the way of my law and it listens to that inner voice that will tell it incessantly God lives. God is in you. Know Him, feel Him, reconcile yourselves with Him. 466 Then your way of life will change, selfishness will disappear, and each one will be useful to the others. People will be inspired by my justice to make new laws and rule the nations with love. 232,43, 47. 467 In the material world you will also experience the transformation. The rivers will be rich in water, the barren fields will be fertile, the forces of nature will return to their accustomed paths, because there will be harmony between man and God, between man and the divine works, between man and the laws dictated by the Creator of life. 352, 65. 468 Do not worry, beloved witnesses, I announce to you that this materialistic humanity, which for so long has believed only in what it touches, sees and understands with its limited capacity of understanding, and in what it proves with its science, will become spiritual and capable of seeing me with its spiritual gaze and of seeking the truth. 307, 56. 469 If you were spiritually prepared, you would be able to see in infinity the multitudes of spiritual beings, which before your eyes would resemble an immeasurably large white cloud, and when the messengers or emissaries break away from it, you would see them coming towards you like sparks of light. 470 Your spiritual sight is not yet penetrating, and that is why I have to speak to you about the hereafter, of all that, which you are not yet able to see. But I tell you, the time will come where you all will be seers and will enjoy that wonderful life, which you currently feel far away from you, but which in reality swings close to you, surrounds you and enlightens you, inspires you and knocks at your doors unceasingly. 71, 37-38. 471 Sensitivity, intuition, revelation, prophecy, inspiration, seer, healing gift, inner word, all these and other gifts will come forth from the Spirit, and through them men will confirm that a new time has dawned for men. 472 Today you doubt that these gifts of the Spirit exist, because some hide them from the world, fearing its opinion. Tomorrow it will be the most natural and beautiful thing to possess them. 473 I come to you in this third time because you are sick in body and spirit. The healthy man has no need of a physician, nor the righteous of purification. 80, 5-6. 474 Today you still need clergymen, judges and teachers. But once your spiritual and moral condition is high, you will no longer need these supports, nor these voices. In every man there will be a judge, a pastor, a teacher, and an altar. 208,41.